Hey friends, welcome back to the shop. This is another episode that I am incredibly excited about because it is long overdue.
Our 2012 Toyota 4Runner is getting some love again.
Everyone will agree that there is no shortage of cars on the roads these days. And everybody seems to be in a hurry, not to mention thinking about just themselves. So there are more and more accidents, more and more hit and runs, and you must definitely be protected for those types of things. Just last week, our daughter was actually hit while parked in a parking lot, and thankfully her rear view camera actually picked up everything, and it was a big help in the insurance proceedings to ensure that she didn't have to pay for those damages. So VANTRUE recognized that we still have a vehicle that is not protected with a dash cam, and they wanted to change that for us. So today we are going to install their N4 Pro, take it on a drive, show the footage both day and night, and kind of see how everything looks. I'm really excited about this because not only are we going to be able to use this for our personal protection on regular driving or while it's parked, but because we do take this off-roading, the rear camera is really going to come in handy for rear footage when we're on the trails with our friends. So dual action with these things, the way we're going to actually put them to use. So let's go ahead and get started with an unboxing and walk through what all we have to work with. Alright, very first item, VANTRUE sells their own SD cards, so we picked up a 256 gig. Plenty of space for what we're going to be needing. Next is the camera itself. Very solid packaging on the box. I love seeing that. First thing in the box here that we have, let me move some things out of the way here. So we have some extra sticky pads. We have a mounting base. We have a trim removal tool. Then if you're not going to hardwire it, then you have your standard cigarette lighter with a plug on the back. We have a very thick installation and owner's manual. Love seeing that. We have the main camera here. This is sizable. Wow. And of course, we have our rear camera. All right. Final part that we're going to need for this is the Hardwire kit. And what I absolutely love about this from VANTRUE is that it's already saving me time and money because it includes all the tap to fuse kits that you could likely end up needing for whatever vehicle you have, because they all have the different size of fuses included. So this saves me the hassle of, one, looking in the fuse box to determine the size of fuses I have, two, going to the hardware store and getting a tap to fuse kit. So this is awesome that they actually include these in their Hardwire package. And then of course the Hardwire setup itself. Additional items inside the box, we have our wiring kit for the the rear camera. Everything that we're going to need for that. We have cleaning cloths, and we have 2 anti-static stickies. We'll use one for the windshield, and if you are using this camera on a vehicle different than the 4Runner, then you'll use the second for the rear camera. But because the 4Runner will not be going on the back window, the second one we won't be using. And then if you so choose to place these on your vehicle, then you can. Protection stickers. 2 big things that we have to do prior to actually getting this mounted, simply because it's going to be easier for one of them, and that is getting the SD card in. VANTRUE also gives us an adapter for PC use, which is really kind of them. Now, for this dash cam, this is kind of cool that the SD card slot is actually hidden. So this is the power button and emergency save button. This is just a cover. So in the back, there's a little indentation here. Use your fingernail and just pop it straight up. And now it's actually a lid. It's got a little bit of a retaining strap there. There is our access port. So we're going to go ahead and slide this on in. Use your nail, push it in till you hear a click, and now it's inserted in. And we'll go ahead and put our door back. Next is our mount. So you have the pins on the mount, and then the holes to where those will end up going into. This is actually a magnet, so you won't have to push really hard. You'll feel it pull it right in, and then just give it a little push to make it click. Now we are all set to go ahead and mount this to the windshield. Now once you get your SD card installed and the mount on the camera itself, if you are hardwiring your unit, the first thing that you need to do before you do anything else is to ensure your unit is working. So utilize the cigarette lighter or accessory port cable, however you have it on your vehicle, and go ahead and plug it into the unit and make sure that it does power on. To go through all the hardwiring and then for the unit to not come on, you don't know whether it is a wiring issue or the unit is DOA. So go ahead and do the simple test on this just to make sure that it does power up. If you're using this to test it and you plug it in and it does not come on, one thing that I noticed is just this plug, spin it around the other way and plug it in to the power port right here on the back of the mount, because it is not universal where it powers on no matter how you plug it in. So flip it around, plug it back in, and then it should come on if the unit is fine. So let's go ahead and get into the next step towards getting this mounted to the front windshield. Alright, we have our anti-static sticker and our camera mounted. Looks good, not impeding the view at all. Now let's go ahead and jump to the rear camera. Alright, so the 4Runners, because our rear windows do go down unless you have no intent of ever lowering it, you're going to want to put the camera elsewhere. A very popular spot on the 4Runners is this right here. We're going to remove that with a regular interior panel removal tool, just like that. And this is what your clip looks like. So from here with this hole, that hole is the size of an M6 bolt. Now this is where the modification comes in, because you'll either have to make a bracket that will go up here for the camera to go on, or find another way. I know there's already popular folks out there that make brackets from 3D printers, but we're going to go ahead and make one with a little bit of extra aluminum that we have. For the rear camera mount, you can either find someone that has a 3D printer and have them print a bracket, or you can use just a real thin scrap piece of metal like I've got here and go ahead and cut yourself one the appropriate size as you need it. You can color paint it to match your headliner or do something a little bit different, but just a cut off wheel, use a little flapper disc to sand it all down, and then I've got it painted a little bit of a camouflage green because that's the theme on our 4Runner. But 3.5 inches long, bent it to fit, mounted the camera, drilled a hole for the bolt. Now let's go ahead and get it installed. All right, got it mounted up. It's looking pretty good. Now for the cable. With these 4Runners, there really is not an easy way to do a clean install where you're hiding this wire without actually drilling into the headliner separately, which is not what I want to do, and I don't want to put this on the tailgate either. So what I've chosen to do for mine is on the headliner you have this fiber board as a backer. I took a little razor blade and just slightly cut out just a small piece for this wire to settle right in. The fabric hasn't been cut, it's just that fiber board. So that way this kind of sets in nicely, and when we run this along the rest of the headliner over to the plastic trim panel, when we put our weather seal back down, it actually is completely over the wire. It doesn't push down as it would if you didn't notch it. Now I'm going to use a larger trim removal tool to help kind of push it back in there further so it's a little bit out of the way. All right, once you've reached the point here and continue to fish it around, you can pull this panel back a little bit until you hear it pop free to get the cable all the way around. And then we're going to continue to feed it at the top once you pull the weather stripping off along the top of the headliner all the way down. All right, once you get the wire tucked around, then you can go ahead and push these back in. Let's continue to run it around. Now on the sides, because you have the SRS safety curtains here, you want to make sure that this wire, as you're going through it, one, does not implicate anything here, and that your wires are kept down out of the way as much as absolutely possible so it does not impede in its normal operation. We'll go ahead and finish feeding it around the corner here and around this side trim. And we'll put our weather seal back up. And we're going to repeat the exact same thing for the front.
While Art is working on the wiring, I just want to share with you that this camera is very feature rich, and while we don't have time to go through all of them, let's list our top 6. 1. It has the latest image processor available, and that would be the Sony Starvis 2. This new sensor provides improved resolution and clarity, especially in low light. Number 2. It has a 4K front camera, a cabin camera that's 1080p, and a rear camera that is also 1080p. Number 3, it has voice-activated commands for both video recording and pictures. Number 4, it has built-in 5 GHz Wi-Fi and GPS that includes tracking on the app. Number 5, you can view, edit, and download video clips to your phone and share on social media much faster than older models. Number 6, the magnetic mount makes it so easy to remove the camera while leaving the base on the windshield. If you're into saving money, be sure to use the code RENTURES on the VANTRUE website to give you an extra discount.
Alright, so we finished running through the driver's window, along the top of the headliner. I just tucked in any remaining access of that wire into the headliner itself. We're going to leave this hanging there for now. We do have this sliding wire cover that goes to the rear view mirror. We're going to utilize that for both of our wires. For now, next step, hardwire kit. And we've got our hardwire power plugged into the base. Running it up our cord collector, up into the headliner, all the way back over, following the exact same path as we did the rear camera cable. So we'll take that wire, go ahead and run it all the way down the A-pillar till we get to the dash. We'll run it under that plastic interior cover, over, and then all the way down the side inside the trim till we get down towards the bottom of the base, where we'll run it in under the dash where the fuse panel is. So the 4Runners use this, what they call low profile fuse, that has the plastic piece in between the metal tabs. So make sure you use those, and there are 2 in this kit, so you're covered. Alright, if you do not have an open spot on your fuse box, then here on the fuses, you can use a multimeter. You have 2 small spots there on the top of the fuse that you can use your probes to determine on whether that particular fuse is always on or just on with the ignition. So that way you won't have to pull any fuses out directly. Now I want to take a moment for what I call a pause for a cause, because before you actually work on the fuse side of plugging these fuses in, be sure to disconnect your battery. You do not want to fry anything, you don't want to hit anything accidentally and cause damage to the rest of the vehicle. So once you've identified which fuse holes you're going to use, then go ahead and disconnect your battery, add those tap fuses in, then connect your battery back up to verify everything is working. Alright, let's get back into it. Now VANTRUE makes this incredibly easy with these kits. A lot easier than I've seen with others, and it's simply because of these bullet connectors here that simply just snap in and it's connected. Do the same for this one. Then I'm going to locate a good ground to be able to bolt this onto before we plug these into the fuse panel. Alright, I called this a converter box earlier, but it's truthfully a battery cutoff box. It senses the voltage on the battery. When it reaches a certain point, it will turn off the dash cam to ensure that you have enough startup juice left in the event that you're out of the vehicle for a while. Now, you have 2 different settings on here. You have 12 volt and you have 11.6 volts. We do have an AGM battery, but because we go off-road for a good distance out. We're actually going to just keep this at 12 volts just for safety precaution, but anybody else, you could certainly end up keeping it at 11.6 and you should be just fine. But this is going to be an area that you will have to decide upon for your own self. It is incredibly difficult to find a good ground point in these newer vehicles. Everything is plastic or it's painted. So right there where that bolt is, next to the plug, that was an empty hole. I just found a regular bolt and nut that matched, that fit that hole, that also fit the ground spade connector to be able to go around that bolt. That is about as good as a ground point as I could find for this. All we have left is just to secure the wires, kind of tuck them up under the dash so they're out of the way. But first, before we do that, we're going to connect our battery back up and we're going to verify the operation of the dash cams themselves. Nothing worse than doing all that than having to cut zip ties just to figure out where there's an issue with wiring. So let's do a test first. Alright, very good. Now time to set it up. With the app, it's incredibly easy. Download it from the App Store. And then the very first thing is that you're going to make sure the Wi-Fi is turned on the camera itself. Then hold your phone up within 6 feet. It gets started. Then it's going to end up telling you the initial password. It's going to show the options for the dash cam that you have. Then from there, it's going to show your camera. Then connect device. And there we go. We are now in the app. Too easy. A huge thank you to VANTRUE for sponsoring this episode and hooking us up with this incredible dash cam. Not only do we feel better being out on the roads knowing that we have this digital protection in the event of something unfortunate happening, but we're also excited to be able to leverage it out on the trails with friends and get some good footage from that too. So if this video was of value to you, be sure to smash that like button and let us know in the comments. And hey, since you're already watching this episode of the 4Runner, why don't you check out some of our others, starting with this one right here. And until next episode, take care, stay safe, we'll see you soon. Bye.